So the idea is to play through my own campaigns, starting with Azeroth Reborn, and provide some insights and commentary to what goes into making a campaign. Basically what design decisions I had to make, what challenges I had to face, non-technical stuff, because I want to keep this simple, and let's be honest, editor stuff is simply not fun to watch or talk about. So, launching the map launcher right now. I'll be talking about stuff that pops up. If you have any questions about anything specific, just drop a question in the chat and I'll answer it as soon as I read it. I will keep the bots up, yes. I'm recording them right now and saving a local copy, and I'll probably upload them to my YouTube channel as well. So this map launcher was made by 321, who is the UI guy. He's a very skilled map maker who has handled pretty much all of the user interface stuff for Azeroth Reborn. And he has made this practically from scratch, trying to recreate the Reforged launcher, which I think looks simply amazing. I don't think there's a map launcher on the arcade that is nearly as fancy as this one. So upkeep is the one thing from vanilla Warcraft 3 that I dislike, that I decided to keep. It was a sort of compromise, because many players felt that it was an important part of the game, even though I don't think it really has a place in modern gaming. Which basically upkeep was added to limit the amount of 3D models present in the game at the same time, because the game couldn't handle too many of those. So it's kind of an artificial system to, make the game not explode. So that's the reason why it exists, and I don't feel it has any worthwhile gameplay use. So anyway, you can disable it here. Yeah, we can lower the sound. Let me know if how's this now? Okay, let's lower the music as well. Yeah, those are good points. Well, I'll launch the first mission and you let me know if how the balance is now. Yeah, now that you mentioned control groups, that's one of the things I kind of hated about the original Warcraft 3. Well, that I dislike now that I'm, playing through it again. Because, limited control groups, no army select button, upkeep, slower game speeds, those are the kind of things that make the game really hard to play for me. So the loading screens are from Reforged, because I feel they are higher quality and overall look much nicer. I had Dwivy, another map maker, edit out the loading bars for this one.
We never paid any heed to the ancient prophecies.
So these CGI cinematics were pretty tricky to get into the game. Basically I had to rip them from Reforged because they have the higher quality versions, including this one that was pretty much remade from scratch. And the thing is that in Reforged they are separated into video, audio and subtitles. So I had to piece those three things together and then convert them to a format that StarCraft 2 can read. And then 321 came up with a system to actually play movies in-game that actually works. Because, the normal system for playing cinematics for campaigns is restricted to actual Blizzard campaigns. And the other systems weren't nearly as dynamic as this one, which can register when a movie begins or ends and allows you to skip it or which is really, really impressive. So see, you can skip the first cinematic and it'll take you straight to the next one. The choppiness, as in, the frame rate isn't great. That's just, the video format and how StarCraft 2 plays it, and I don't think there's a way to get better quality than this. Okay, let's jump straight into the gameplay.
What kind of nightmare was that?
Again, let me know if the
It was not a nightmare.
balance is okay, if the game is not running out my voice or anything.
And I will reveal what your future holds.
I don't know what this is all about, but I'll play along.
So one thing I wanted to have for this segment was this heavy rain effect. In Warcraft 3 it was actually easier to create effects like this, and it didn't tax the system as much, as in you could add rain without any lag. In StarCraft 2 it's quite performance intensive, so even with a great PC this part will likely lag. But I wanted heavy rain, so I think that's the compromise I made. Now for reference, I'm getting about 100 FPS, and that's going to go way up when I leave the rain area.
Yes, for honor.
Well, maybe not such a dramatic improvement. Anyway,
Dabu.
you can see a few interesting things about the UI now. Like this hero panel right here was taken straight from StarCraft 2. It's what Legacy of the Void uses. And they are basically the Terran version recolored depending on the different races, so that didn't take that much effort. The quest systems, where you have requirements for each quest, was also created by 321, and it's plugged into the original system, so it doesn't require you to learn stuff from scratch, and it works really nicely. He also handled the top bar here, which you will see gold, lumber supply and upkeep when those are available. And he also set up these Warcraft 3 style consoles, which are not normally set up in the Warcraft 3 stuff. And he also made these really nice hero bars, which they are colored depending on the player's race, and they also show your level. So really fancy stuff.
Yes, for honor. Dabu. Loktar, my warriors. We are yours to command, War Chief. On with it. For honor.
This is pretty much a straight recreation from Warcraft 3 without many changes. So keep in mind that the triggers of the original maps, which are what handles pretty much every in-game event, including cinematics and stuff, those had to be recreated from scratch because the StarCraft 2 editor cannot convert them. So that's a big part of the work. So check out Thrall's experience here. He will jump straight to level 2 when you clear this camp, because there's no way that these creeps give you enough experience for a level up. See the triggers. Every trigger has to be made from scratch by watching the original and recreating it in StarCraft 2.
War Chief, we've discovered a group of Murloc raiders in the nearby river.
So I'm using team-colored health bars, which means that each unit has the color of the player's color. So my units are red and the enemies are black, because that's the color for neutral creeps in Warcraft 3. Yeah, that's pretty much just my preferred video settings, but you can easily disable it in the StarCraft 2 options anyway. So anyway, not many changes from the original here. I had the few creeps on hard so that you actually have to micro a bit, maybe use your abilities.
For honor. Yes. Be wary, my warriors. Don't let nightfall dull your senses.
So this is the Nightfall tutorial, and the way I set it up is basically the time of day goes really slow for this map, so that if you wanted to get to Nightfall before reaching this circle, you would have to like sit around for around an hour. So that's not very likely to happen.
Let's get on with it.
You'll see in most missions the time of day goes much faster than
For
this.
honor, the spirits. Lokrigar Nokal. Yes. An ogre. We'd have a fierce battle on our hands if the beast weren't sleeping.
I think that there are only a few specific structures that aren't properly tinted for team color, like specifically the big farms. Like these are supposed to be purple, but the model is bugged.
Let's get on with it.
And while I could use triggers to change their color, it doesn't generally look great. And model editing has proven tough on that one.
Yes. Dabu. For honor. Yes. A golem. Watch yourselves, my brethren. Those creatures.
If you compare Warcraft 3 to, say, StarCraft 1, you'll notice that the tutorials are much better.
I am the war chief.
Like this map teaches you mechanics about creeps, consumable items, permanent items, tomes, while giving you some background on the overall world of Warcraft 3.
Yes.
While the original StarCraft 1 had tutorial mission that was basically, harvest minerals, harvest Vespene, build stuff, you win, which isn't very interesting. And this mission, even though it's really easy, it's still pretty fun.
I am the war chief. Yes. For honor. The spirits are restless. Forest trolls. I still can't believe they were ever a part.
I believe the day-night system was original to Warcraft 3, at least it wasn't part of any Blizzard game before that I know of. I wouldn't know about Warcraft 1 or 2 though.
I am the war chief. For honor. Lokrigar. Let's get on with it. The spirits are restless.
So I have had to use tint color for the undead mission in which you face orcs, because each base is a different color and they have big farms and they all look odd if they are red. So I had to tint them to match the player color, and it looks mostly okay. I guess better than nothing, I'd say.
Dabu. For honor. Let's get on with it.
Greetings, son of Duratan. I knew you'd find your way.
Now, a thing you will notice about Azeroth Reborn cinematics is that you don't usually see the sky, because there are very few skyboxes in StarCraft 2, and most of those are variations of a night sky with stars, where Warcraft 3 had a much higher variety of those, which unfortunately those didn't make it into StarCraft 2. This map would be the exception, where I had to, where I managed to use skybox that more or less fits, even though it kind of looks like the world ends at the horizon there.
Beheld the great burning shadow that is coming to consume.
But for most cinematics I have to be very careful not to include any shots of the sky, because that simply looks black.
Are returning.
Yes, and only by leading your people across the sea to the distant lands of Kalimdor.
Like, I think that this cinematic looks really nice,
But how can we?
I will answer all
but
your
it's not,
questions.
we don't have like a daytime sky or anything like that, so that's really unfortunate.
We'll speak again.
None of this makes
Well,
sense.
we have Starry Night with with more stars, Starry Night with less stars, and that's basically it. They are basically space skyboxes, because this is StarCraft 2. Also, this transitional loading screen you're seeing right now with the Zeppelin is we managed that by overriding the original one because it's not easy to customize that.
It's been 3 days and this prophet has yet to show himself. I hope I'm not making a huge mistake by trusting you.
War Chief, the clans are assembling as you ordered, but it will take them some time to reach us.
I will also mention the terraining work here. Dashi is the team's terrainer, and she handles pretty much everything, from fixing broken stuff like ramps and cliffs that break in the transition, to making textures look nicer and to giving the maps a more distinctive style, which occasionally includes having to export and edit textures. So terraining is something I simply not very good at and I don't enjoy, so I'm happy to delegate that part of the work. So if you were talking about that skybox that we saw in the previous cinematic, no, that's just how the original one looks. I believe I had to add some fog so that the horizon wouldn't be as sharp as it normally is, but other than that I didn't much edit the skybox. And I also had to change the camera so it would actually see the skybox because it was too far, which tends to lag the game. Creep movement is not random, at least in the sense that if you attack a creep, the nearby creeps will, go and attack the attacker there. They have a guard system where basically, if you go too far away, they will return to the original position. Like I can try leashing these, and they will not follow me all the way back to my base. After a certain point, they will just go back, no matter how much I try to guide them. Oh yeah, like actual creep animals, yes. Those have a behavior that makes them move around from their starting points a short distance and then back. So it simulates this, random roaming around.
Work complete. Yes. We need more lumber. Something you're doing?
Let's get on with it.
Your time has come.
And there were some issues with hotkeys, where there are some overlap and some unusual hotkeys compared to Warcraft 3. I believe I tried to fix those, but for the most part I've simply been using Wit for a while, so I don't even notice. So I have managed to make this. Well, you need the standard system for this, where I managed to add the campaign heroes to this list, where normally you couldn't because they weren't listed here, so now you can change your hero's abilities if you want.
For Doomhammer! I can do that. Yes. Be happy to. Ready to work. What do you want?
You'll also notice that they build grid for structures like this. Doesn't have the white outline that StarCraft 2 normally has, because that looks too sci-fi-ish for my taste, so that's disabled by default.
The spirits are resting. For honor. Dabu.
Work complete.
There's also an Easter egg somewhere around here, I believe.
Dabu.
There we go. The Team's Terrainer had some fun adding Easter eggs on some of these maps. Especially, I think there's like these movies on pretty much every single prologue mission.
I am the war chief.
Yes. Okie dokie.
No regard, no God.
So I chose fast game speed because I thought that would give me more time to explain stuff, but it's making the game too slow. I think I'll ramp up the speed next time.
Happy to.
Yeah, so the specific Moopy Easter eggs is pretty much an addition for Azeroth Reborn because there wasn't anything like that in the original.
Spirits are restless. Double.
Yeah, Easter eggs are okay, I think. I don't feel too strongly about them either way.
My life for the Horde. Something need doing? Work, work.
They're also pretty well hidden, like I myself would never find an Easter egg if my life depended on it, especially if they are as well hidden as this.
Work complete. We need more build more burrows. I can do that.
I am.
So some build costs and training costs have been adjusted. It's basically all multiples of 25 if you want the simple explanation. So chain lightning is 125
Work complete.
and
My
you know
life for the Horde.
training costs have been rounded, so a grant costs 200 and stuff like that.
What do you want?
Look
My
regard,
life
no
for the
God.
build more burrows.
So this bridge, well, bridges in particular, are broken in StarCraft 2, in that the pathing works really badly and units end up going straight into the water.
War chief, they say they've captured
So
one of
it
our
takes
leaders.
hours
They
to
need
fix
their
a single
return
bridge,
prom.
to make it so that you can path smoothly over it, and so that it doesn't,
Regret it.
you know, throw you into the water or break in any way.
We must drive the
So whenever it's necessary to have a bridge like in this mission, I take the time to fix it. When it's not, I simply add a cliff bridge by joining cliffs instead of using the units. Yeah, bridges in general just not great in StarCraft 2. Like there's the fake bridges that are blocked until you need to use them, and there's the actual bridges that have pathing, but those are fairly rare. And in Warcraft 3, like in this Warcraft 3 data in StarCraft 2, most of them are just broken beyond repair.
Yes.
I believe it's the unit's footprint that determines pathing, but it wouldn't surprise me if something were broken with the actual M3 models.
Get on with it. Yeah.
Yes.
I am. The spirits are restless. Look regard, no God. Let's get on with it. I am.
So I believe I had some extra items here that weren't in the original, and I always forget where I placed those, so I have to break every single crate.
Let's get on. Let's get on with it. Double. For honor. Yes.
So as you can see, you can actually reach level 3 on this mission, which you normally can't. I made it that way so that you can gain a level per prologue mission, so in the final mission you are level 6, and getting your ultimate there seems pretty fair. I also changed the rate of experience gain so that on higher difficulties like this one, you take longer to level up, because otherwise you clear a creep camp and you're already maxed for the mission. You'll also notice that I'm using transmissions, that is, voice lines that play for when a unit is rescued that weren't in the original, some of them. I think most of them are taken from the third prologue mission, I mean the fourth one, where you have to rescue units. Also some more UI stuff. This hero panel was added also by 321, and it basically shows damage, attack speed, range, armor and movement speed by simply clicking on a unit. So you don't actually have to mouse over these icons to see what their stats are, which I think is pretty great. It did take quite a bit of effort because weapon speed is not something you can get automatically. So we basically had to list every single unit with their attack speed to get this to work properly. And if you make a custom unit, you need to also add it and manually set their attack speed, which is a pretty awful system, but you know, it gets the job done.
Work complete. I knew you'd find us, War Chief.
Lokrigan, Ogan. The spirits are restless. Yes. Direct I am.
Our hero has been slain.
Whoops. The normal UI is pretty much this. You mouse over the attack icon and you see the weapon speed there. But if you mean the StarCraft 2 UI, I truly have no idea.
War Chief, we found where they're holding Grog, but the area is protected by fortified guard towers.
Then destroy them. Hillstream must be freed.
We're under attack!
I also added this cool little effect for when a hero is reviving that shows this clock-like animation on the panel, so that when it finishes going all the way around, the hero revives, which is a nice indicator.
Understood. What do you want? Stop.
Are you all right?
I'm fine, little brother. Luckily, they only injured my pride.
Great, because we're getting out of here now. We're leaving the human lands.
So one thing that is pretty crazy about this is that many players watch a video of Azeroth Reborn and think that it looks exactly like Warcraft 3, and that's it took lots of effort to get it to look this way. And it's funny that the better you do your job at replicating Warcraft 3, the harder it is to notice how much work went into it.
Now, go, young thrall. Sail west to the lands of Kalimdor. It is there that you will find your
Now
destiny.
this cinematic
It is
would have been
there
nice to have
that
a
full salvation
day sky for. You see, you have kind of a top-down view, it doesn't work quite as well. Let me see if I can skip this and change the game speed to faster. So a big reason that motivated me to remake Warcraft 3 is that I can't enjoy Warcraft 3 anymore, at least not in the same way. The slow game speed, the pathing, the not having build time indicators, that really makes it hard for me to play. So that's a big motivation to add all these quality of life changes. And I I was just playing on fast, which is 20% faster, and I still thought it was too slow.
It was lucky we happened onto this cove.
So that Beyond animation where they basically go to the boat, pick up a bag and go back, took an absurdly long time to make. Like, most cinematics really take a long time to make.
We may be on this island for a while.
War Chief, I sense strange magic all around us.
There's the source of your magic.
So when I started working in Azeroth Reborn, I had no idea if if it would be popular, if it would maybe replace Warcraft 3 for some players. But it's looking like that's the case, and many players talk about it like it's the, like it does for Warcraft 3 what Mass Recall does for StarCraft 1, which I think is pretty great. No, I didn't make the boats harvestable, I just made the loops so that when the peon enters the region it plays an animation and then walks back. I mean, doing it wasn't so hard, it was making it into a single trigger that was efficient. That was the tricky part.
Day and night, their patrols be all over the place. Not be long till they find you too.
Well, I'd rather find them first. We can't risk their patrols alerting the outpost about us. Loktar, my brothers. We're moving out.
Good luck, my friend. I got important matters to tend to. But
I mean, to be fair, putting any RTS into StarCraft 2 would be a massive improvement.
I am the war. The spirits are restless. Lokrigar, let's get on with it.
Ready to work.
For honor.
Yeah, I meant more like Mass Recall is the default for new players who want to experience StarCraft 1. Though I do agree that Mass Recall does a great job at recreating the game, but not very much at modernizing, which, I guess it wasn't actually the aim anyway.
With a few ingredients, Sinjin can make a purifying potion. Maybe you can help.
So this map in particular was the one that I had to learn how to make attack waves. Like, I didn't actually know how to set them up from scratch, because, making wave swap campaigns doesn't really teach you how to make stuff from scratch. But it turns out it's pretty easy, so long as you are not trying to do anything particularly fancy or complex. Attack waves are not too difficult to set up. I remember that these items had to be recreated for this map, because when you convert the map sometimes the data doesn't carry through.
What you want, I can do that. Yes.
So stuff like custom units and items have to be recreated, which is unfortunate. So the Warcraft 3 AI is very limited in StarCraft 2, but one of the few things that they do properly is defend. As in, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but footmen will defend when they are hit by piercing attacks. The troll line is actually an addition that wasn't in the original. It's in the game files, but it's unused. There are a bunch of those that you will see starting from this mission, and those, I made an effort to include all of those when possible. As for the attack waves, I'm using the Triggers module because I think it's more dynamic in a way. Like, it allows you to use waypoints and random timers if you need those. So I think it's overall slightly better.
What you want, happy to. Okie-dokie. Yes.
Also, streaming and playing at the same time is really hard. My macro is not great.
Hey, it's the orcs who stole the ships from the mainland. Send for reinforcements. Ready to work.
So there's a quality detail here where there's an extra footman at each pathway here, and the first time you engage, if you engage before the attack, one will run out to alert the base. It doesn't actually do anything, but it makes it look like you, like the humans find out about you because you attack them. And it's also a cut line, so that's pretty cool.
The spirits are restless. Let's get on. Loc regard, no God. Yes. Work complete. For honor, I am the war chief.
Yes, I do understand that Grant has a very difficult job, and I never underestimated that.
Something you're doing? Work.
The inventory simply works. Like, it's part of the Warcraft 3 data in StarCraft 2, thankfully, so I didn't have to mess too much with that. One thing I did have to change is basically the how inventory saving works for when you transfer them from mission to mission. And the Archmage has an AI made by me. It basically uses Blizzard on clamped up enemies as long as he's actually hidden something. If not, he will just stop. So this Archmage drops a tome. In the original, he used the standard loot system, which you should never use for heroes because that will happen whenever they die. Essentially meaning that in the original the Archmage will die and drop a tome every single time, which is absolutely not intended.
Yes. What do you want? My life for the Horde. We need more gold.
I am the war chief. Let's get on with it. Loc regard, no God. The spirits are restless.
So let's see if I can finally complete this quest and get some healing, hopefully. There's one thing I dislike about the Orc race is that you can't easily heal without like unlocking lots of tech for the Witch Doctor's healing wards. And I think there's something hidden around here. There we go.
Loc regard, no God. For on, let's get on with it. I am the war
Defense are active. The island's volcano may not stay for long.
So I initially had randomized attack waves, which depending on the difficulty, there was a certain window of time in which enemy units could arrive. And I tried that and it didn't actually work too well. Because it felt like RNG, whether you would be hit hard or not so hard depending on how often the waves came. It was also really hard to time, which is important in an RTS, and it was really tough to set up properly and test. So that ended up going away.
We need more lumber. What do you want?
The spirits are restless. Loc regard, no God. For honor.
Oh, so quest complete. I should do this.
Research complete.
Hello again, Outlanders.
And now you will see how they fake the transformation of the fountain by using a fade out. So screen fades to black. And now there's a different fountain, which is, pretty economical way of showing a transformation if you don't have a dedicated model or animation.
Contain healing magic. No doubt you'll find them useful.
The spirits.
These wards contain healing power.
I am.
Yes, very observant role.
Research complete.
Let's get
There were basically lines for picking up healing wards and sentry wards, which were unused in the originals. I believe you couldn't actually get those items here.
Yes. Work complete.
Lokrigan Ogal. I am the war chief. Yes.
Also, this worker counter system, there was one built in that kind of mostly worked, but it would lag the game if you set the search radius very high, meaning if you wanted to be able to detect workers wherever they were on the map, it would drop your FPS to single digits. So we, and by we I mean 321, came up with a system so that it works much more smoothly and without any performance issues, which is honestly pretty great.
We need more lumber.
Your feeble attacks are fruitless. Why don't you just give up?
Yeah, right now it scans workers anywhere. They are tracked using a different system so that it doesn't cause any performance issues. Well, of course, it required us to set it up from scratch. But yes, it works nicely and without any lag, which is pretty great. Like you could have a war mill in one corner of the map and workers harvesting in another corner of the map, and it would work perfectly. So the AI for workers harvesting isn't great sometimes. They go way too far attempting to harvest lumber, like they are nearby trees and they just go away anyway.
Lokrigan Ogal. The spirits. Lokrigan.
Yes, I use that weird worker status in actors. At least for the gold mines. For the
Yes.
lumber, I think we changed the system to use just labels.
For honor.
Ready to work. We need more gold. Ready to work.
Lokrigan Ogal. Let's get on with it. I am the war.
Something need doing? I can do it.
Lokrigan Ogal. Yes. Dub. For honor.
Get up. Back.
Let's get on with it.
So I think an attack wave is coming soon. Oh, there it is. Yes, attack waves usually come every 3 minutes on hard difficulty, depending on the map, which makes it pretty easy to time if you can actually focus on that, which I cannot at the moment. I just got lucky I ran into it.
Work complete.
Lokrigan Ogal.
I think this will
Let's
hold.
get on with it. For honor, I am.
These are the same wards the old troll used to spy on us.
That's decent rewards. Sure.
Yes.
Somewhat useful.
I am.
See? You can. There's the next attack we're gathering, which will arrive at my base at the 18-minute mark, so I have some time to prepare.
Build more burrows. Yes. Can't build. We need more lumber.
Lokrigan Ogal. Let's get on with it.
Welcome to the village, man.
So in the original mission, you couldn't build troll headhunters, but you could rescue this. I changed it so that you could actually build them from the barracks, but this just chill out here and, you know, say stuff
I am.
when you come near them.
The spirits are restless. Lokrigan Ogal. I am the war chief.
So a change I made fairly recently is changing how the damage tooltips say which armor they are effective against, like the exact percentages, which is not something most players actually know unless they look it up on Wikipedia, but it's pretty great to know.
The spirits are restless. My life for the
Yeah, Warcraft 3 overall didn't do a great job at giving you relevant information through tooltips. It was usually like they omitted the important information and had like really long flavor descriptions that weren't actually useful for gameplay. So I ended up rewriting like most of the tooltips in the game for pretty much everything from units to structures and behaviors.
Let's get on.
We're under attack!
Yes.
So actually making units hit each other was how I tested that the Warcraft 3 values in StarCraft 2 actually matched the latest, well not the latest but the relevant Frozen Throne patch. Because all of this is running on a snapshot of the Frozen Throne from around 2015, so any further changes are not reflected here. And I only really change things if I think it's relevant for balance.
What do you want? We need more lumber.
For honor. Let's get on. I am the warship.
That's also a custom AI, where if you hit a peasant or a town hall, they will turn into militia and attack. But where normally they would just, keep harvesting, which is not ideal behavior for an AI. If you mean for converting the actual maps, then I believe so, but I'm no longer handling that. It's mapmaker Yevon who is choosing and converting the maps initially. But I believe we are using the latest Reforged version for the most part. I mean the latest classic version actually, in the the version of the game you can purchase in Battle.net. I think pretty much every map on Azeroth Reborn was converted from Classic, except for missions 3, 4 and 5 of the prologue, which were converted from Reforged because they had some minor improvements, namely the Sea Witch being actual Naga and the defensive structures being more than recolored huts.
Watch your back. This battle's not over yet.
And I also have bad memories about remaking the cinematic, which took me about 10 hours I think, simply because of how poorly set up it was initially and how much stuff is going on. And that's a cavern from the Purifier's mission in StarCraft 2, but it actually fit really well here. So this map's terrain was completely broken. As in, the textures were missing, the original textures were not present in StarCraft 2. Cliffs were broken, ramps were broken, the lava looked like water. So I handed it over to Dashi and she did a fantastic job putting together a custom texture set, which doesn't look exactly like the original but follows the same style and in my opinion looks very, very fitting for this project.
Well, someone should have told them that orcs don't scare that easily. Now, let's get out of here.
So thank you for this game, that you're enjoying this.
I am the war chief.
+1 agility, who needs that?
Double. Yeah, let's get on with it. For honor. The spirits are resting. Low regard.
No, the lava does not rise on this map because this isn't
Let's get on with it. The spirits are resting.
whatever the StarCraft 2 lava mission is. I blanked out just now.
Those fish creatures must pay.
the Devil's Blade one. That's it.
I am.
For the Horde!
So this mission was changed in Reforged to where I think in Classic you absolutely had to rescue the units to actually win the mission, but in Reforged it's an optional quest, which I think is actually an improvement.
Orcs! I should have known. Attack!
Will you humans never learn?
So basically you get many items that are not ideal, like sort of like in Diablo where not every item you get is exactly what you need. So you get agility and strength when it's not actually what you want as Thrall. But you know, if you don't have any other items, you get some attack speed and armor, which is nice. So, I imagine most of you already know, but heroes have 3 attributes: strength, agility and intelligence. Strength gives you health and health regen, agility gives you armor and attack speed, and intelligence gives you mana and mana regen. And if each hero has a primary attribute, which means that one specific attribute also increases their attack damage. So you want as much of that as you can get. So for Thrall it's intelligence, so intelligence items also boost his damage in addition to his mana and regen.
Yes, the spirits are restless. Dabu. Yes. Dabu. I am the war chief.
This is our chance. Let's make a break for it.
Regard.
This segment is actually pretty tricky to balance,
We're almost there.
where, you know, if you don't intervene, you want there to be at least a significant number of enemies to stop you, so to encourage you to actually, you know, engage here and kill enemies. Because otherwise you're probably going to have to face a pretty strong enemy army. And I actually don't remember who wins here. I think it was the humans. Even though they have peasants, they're not doing a lot. I guess I'll let them fight it out. Nope, humans are definitely winning. Okay, I'd rather not lose any units in this mission. And Thrall has finally leveled up, very nice.
Yes. Look, regard. The spirits are restless. Let's get on.
Inventory is full.
For honor. Dabu. Yes, the spirits are restless.
Also stuff like range indicators for like healing wards and, you know, stuff like chain lightning had to be added manually. There's actually a pretty nice system in StarCraft 2 where you basically make a new range indicator and you simply input the ability and it automatically gets the range, which it works for the most part except for some trickier abilities.
I am the war chief. Dabu.
They also work for items in your inventory and for passive auras, which Thrall doesn't have any, but it works there too.
I am the war chief.
Oh, I forgot to have formation movement enabled, my bad.
For honor.
Yes, it is working properly, but it uses the StarCraft 2 system, which I'm not sure if it's like super smart about how it positions units,
For honor.
but at least it keeps the separation more or less appropriate.
Dabu. Look, regard. I am the war chief.
I knew you'd find us, War Chief.
Restless.
And this icon on the minimap was actually an addition because it wasn't the original, and that
Let's get on.
also took a while to implement.
The war chief. Yes.
And no, weapons do not have range indicators. I'm not sure if that's actually doable. I imagine it might be. And here's, I think, another Easter egg.
Dabu.
Yeah, there's a Moby right there. 2 Mobies.
Dabu. Loktar.
The spirits are restless. Yes.
For these humans must have put up a fight. Too bad.
So these corpses actually took a while to get right. They are basically actual living units that are, paused and stuck playing an animation, and their collision is removed. And there was a pretty funny bug on my first playthrough where these footmen would actually slide through the ground and make sword sounds as they hit me, which, definitely unintended behavior.
Dabu. I am the war chief. Yes. For honor. Yes.
Yeah, I actually slightly reduced the distance between units in formation because they were spread out way too far normally. So I think the current version works pretty nicely.
For honor.
I mean, at least it prevents units from clumping up like in StarCraft 2. Oh, this hit hard.
Yes. For honor. Yes.
I think we might need some more
For
healing.
honor, the spirits are restless.
Also, similar to the same mission, the time of day here goes by really slowly, so that it will always be nighttime for this mission, which I think is very thematically appropriate. For some reason, you can only make the time of day so long. Like, after a certain point, no matter which number you input, the time of day will take no longer than 40 minutes to go through. So that seems to be an engine limitation. And also the other alternative was to pause the time of day so that it's stuck at midnight, for instance, but I feel it's not ideal.
Let's get on with it. The spirits are restless. For the Horde.
You can also rescue this guy by
For honor.
breaking these rocks here
Regard.
and entering through the back.
Dabu. For honor.
Inventory is full.
And most of the items are actually pretty bad
Let's get
here.
on with it. I am the spirits are restless. Yes. Lokrigan, O God. The spirits are restless. Dabu. For honor. Let's get on with it. Yes.
I mean, if it's possible for Azeroth want to be played slower, then yes, you can change the game speed on the map launcher. You can choose, I'm playing on faster, but you can also choose normal, which pretty much matches the Warcraft 3 speed. It's absolutely a matter of preference, and I understand that many players, because they are used to Warcraft 3, or because they feel more comfortable playing at a lower speed, they might actually prefer that. Personally, I find the game too slow on anything that isn't faster.
Hey, Chief Man, it looked like to be a passageway here. Maybe we find a way out.
Let's see if we can break.
Well, it would make the game easier in that you have more time to prepare and react. So yes, I do think that slower game speed make the game overall easier.
Come just in time.
So this and also a bridge that we had to remove and replace with this one, which is actually from some Protoss mission, I think, but it doesn't look too out of place here.
Lokrigan, O God. For honor. Dabu.
There's also a bunch of custom units here. I believe there's the Null Gold Miser,
I am.
just a custom unit, and some of the spiders are also custom.
Let's get on with it. I am the war chief.
Like they were created specifically for this map. And clearly they are hoarding gold for some reason. I can't see any right now.
Let's get on with it.
Ah, there it is. No gold missing. Which looks exactly the same as no rewarding except like 10% smaller. Oh, and this one actually drops a good item. Hood of Canning. I don't actually remember if I added this drop specifically or if it was part of the map. I remember taking quite a few liberties with these, the drops on this mission in particular.
The spirits are restless. For honor, yes.
We also have Bloodlust on autocast, which is nice for removing, but it also means that it will consume your mana very, very fast. Claws of Attack are also nice.
Yes, let's get on. For honor.
Needs our help. Rakar wants you.
I do remember changing the distribution of the allies you can rescue here. I remember some cells were empty, so I added units to rescue, and some I simply switch around. And these ghosts will actually possess your units, so you actually want Thrall to tank them unless you want to lose a bunch of your own units. The Tome Wraith is also a custom unit.
The spirits are restless.
And we get a bunch of very nice tomes.
Yes, I am the war chief.
I believe we are no longer welcome in this place, War Chief.
For honor.
War Chief, Senjin was just taken away by the fish creatures. I tried to stop them, but there were too many. They said he is to be sacrificed to their witch.
Then we have no time to lose. Senjin must be freed.
There were also a bunch of broken things on this map in particular, like those force fields were not facing the right angle and didn't have the right collision pathing, same as most of the gates, so that had to be fixed, which was pretty tedious work.
Senjin, don't despair.
And the sorcerer is an oversized Murloc Huntsman, which I made into a sort of hero unit with the, hero armor and increased damage and the fancy health bar.
Let's get on. For honor. The spirits are restless. I am. Let's get on.
So Reign of Chaos only featured the first 2 missions as a tutorial, but Frozen Throne added it as under the custom campaign section, I believe. And I think they weren't localized, as in they weren't translated to other languages than English, so they simply didn't have any voice acting at all, even though it existed. Now, I actually had never played them before making Azeroth Reborn, so I was hesitant about whether I would remake them or not. But apparently they are very much part of the canon story, and of course it makes for a much better prologue if it's 5 missions instead of 2.
The vision told me you would lead my people off this island. You don't have much time, young one. Go.
Poor Ascension.
Coming with us.
It'd be too late. I'm already gone.
Those of you who wish to follow me will face many dangers. It will not be easy,
Also notice how Senjin is literally a troll witch doctor. He uses the normal unit model with no fancy stuff whatsoever. I don't know if they actually changed that in Reforged. I mean, I play the missions, but I don't actually remember that bit.
Make peace with your gods, land dwellers. You cannot escape the currents of death so easily.
Where is that voice coming from?
I don't know, but we have no time to waste. This cave is about to collapse.
Also, the Sea Witch used to be like a giant ghost, which Reforged changed into a Naga Sea Witch, which I think makes much more sense. So I think that's one of the things that Reforged improved. Like, Reforged did quite a few minor improvements, but they are pretty hard to notice overall. Also, I'll be back in a minute. Yeah, I will
Dwellers.
mute my stream
You have
next time. Thank you for the tip.
slaughtered my minions and defiled my sanctuary. Now you will be drowned by the wrath of the tides.
You'll have no more sacrifices to
So the description for this map's loading screen says that sunlight greets Thrall, but I decided to make it nighttime when he leaves because I think it's more fitting for this mission.
At last, we've reached our landing site.
Yes, you can see the smoke from the structures looks like giant black squares because of the fog in the map. Like, fog interacts weirdly with stuff like that, and there's no way around it if you actually want fog.
Quickly, we're about to have company. Defend the ships at all costs.
Also, the Peons on Robots was a Reforged edition, and I loved it, so that's why it's part of this. I think it looks great. Like, those are fantastic.
Yes.
Hey, where'd the others go? They go with you?
Let's go. For honor. For honor. Dabu.
We don't have much time.
Logrigano.
Hey, you got room for one more, man?
The spirits are restless.
I also hope I can actually beat this mission this time, because it actually requires a bit of effort to win, and I'm having trouble focusing while talking at the same time. I mean, the smoke textures are fine for the most part, just that they interact weirdly with this,
Let's get on with it.
I guess this, in the fog in StarCraft 2.
Our town is under attack!
Not my watchtower.
Let's get on with it. For honor. Logrigano. Let's get on. Ready to work. What do you want? Ready to work. The spirits.
So usually the attack waves I just make from scratch.
Research complete.
As in, I don't follow the original because the recreating them exactly is quite a bit of work, because you have to read the AS script, which is written in actual code.
Yes.
And it's not something I particularly enjoy, so I just make them up and balance them according to my playtests.
Your efforts are futile, land dwellers. The darkness of the deeps is all that awaits you.
And the Sea Witch here should use her abilities. Should. Doesn't seem like that's the case for some reason.
Town is under attack! Build, ready to work. Can't build. Our town is under attack!
Also, the attack waves are pretty relentless here. In that I think there's like an attack wave every minute, so it keeps you on your toes and pretty much running around all the time.
Spirits are resting. I am the war chief.
Yep, I'm getting the
Look
spike
regard,
things now.
I am. Work complete. Let's get on with it.
Our town is under attack! We're under attack!
Yes, ready to work.
Huh? What do you want?
The spirits are resting. Dub, let's get on with it.
Research complete.
Work complete. I am. Yes.
I think I'll just send Thrall to find the final
Dub. Yes.
bonus objectives.
Dub.
You got away off the island?
Attack!
Yes. Look regard, no God.
This island is sinking quick. We come with you, man.
And there we go.
The spirits, let's get on with it. Look regard, no God.
Yes.
The spirits are resting.
Work complete. We need more gold.
Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this mission turned out. It's like actually pretty intense. That you actually have to build stuff and defend. Though I've been told it's actually easier if you go for the enemy bases. Like as soon as you take down one base, the mission becomes much easier. And you can actually win. If you destroy every single enemy structure on the map, it's also a victory.
Let's work complete. Work complete. The spirits. Work complete. Dub. Work complete.
Something you're doing?
I don't actually remember if
Research
you
complete.
could win in the original by destroying every enemy structure. I believe it. I truly don't know. Someone will have to check.
The spirits. Look regard. I am the war chief. The spirits are restless.
Yes. Work.
But anyway, for pretty much every Azeroth Reborn mission that is a holdout, I made a victory condition that is essentially destroy every enemy structure.
Work. Be happy to.
So I think that,
Work complete.
you know, makes it more interesting for players who don't like defense missions. I mean, personally they are pretty much my favorite,
We need
but
more.
I know
Our
some
town is
players
under
are
attack.
not a fan of those. I even like 0 Hour, if you can believe it.
Work complete. I am the war chief. Look
Our town is under attack.
work complete.
And I finally got the upgrade for Berserk, which I made it into an autocast and reduced the duration slightly.
For honor. Dub.
Our town is under attack.
Which makes it, you know, better for a moving, but actually it's like, well, actually you have to micro a bit to get the most out of it.
Research complete.
Dub.
Oh yeah, absolutely, like, it's, you know, exactly players like Grant who will benefit from changes like this the most.
Something you're doing. We can't build there. Yes. Be happy to.
I'm not sure if it makes the mission too easy. I mean, most players agree that this is, you know, a bit overtuned in general. And I find it pretty hard, even with even with all this stuff, it's still not an easy mission. I don't actually remember about Reforge. I
We need more
take
gold.
like Warcraft 3 as a baseline, but if it's possible to actually add upgrades or units that weren't present and which don't completely trivialize the mission, I usually end up adding those. Like, I'm pretty sure Berserk was not available here originally.
What do you want? We need more gold. Work complete.
Yes.
Research complete.
Dabu.
Oh yeah, then if it's like exclusive to Frozen Throne, then it most definitely wasn't here.
Work complete. We're under attack. Our town is under attack.
Also, the original siege weapons like Demolishers, Mortar Teams, etc. had these really funky looking trajectories for their projectiles. And it was mostly Photolos who fixed that by making them look, you know, having these much realistic looking trajectories. So yeah, when they are when a unit's name was changed in the Frozen Throne, I just used the latest name. So catapults are demolishers, for instance, and flying machines. No, actually the opposite. And gyrocopters are flying machines. Because we don't actually have the unchanged units. Like flying machines are not available, which were different units, and I don't remember if they were called steam tanks, but those are also not available. Like the model isn't even there, so that's really limiting what we can do. But anyway, for consistency at least, I prefer having everything be the Frozen Throne. I believe that was either on the original or on the Reforged version that they have these siege golems which deal chaos damage. They are pretty insane. And they are also necessary for the mission's balance, since, you know, they can actually break through your defenses at the last minute, which is very much the idea.
We need more gold.
For honor.
I believe Reforge also had Murloc sorcerers, and like plural, which were, you know, like the Murloc sorcerer from the previous mission, except they cast Rain of Fire on your structures, which I found to be a bit too much, and instead gave the Earthquake ability to the Nagasi Witch, so she can actually break through your defenses, because, you know, Tornado doesn't actually do much in that regard.
Our town is under attack. We're under attack. We need more gold.
And this is where things get pretty tense. Like, I've lost all of my frontliners and I only have like 9 demolishers for some reason. And there's also a suicide timer, which I believe happens at when there's 1 or 2 minutes remaining, where the enemy will essentially send every single unit they have in the map against you.
The spirits, my life for the Horde.
But yeah, I think we are good. They won't get to break everything in 50 seconds.
Our town is under attack! We're under attack! Our
God.
town is under attack!
Thrall getting transformed every second semi.
Sail on, land dwellers, flee! The dark tide is coming to swallow you all, and once
I also really like the terraining on this map, especially in regards to the fog and the rain and the lightning. I think it really fits the atmosphere.
I don't know exactly what the witch was talking about, but I do know that our destiny lies elsewhere. For now, we set sail for Kalimdor. That is where our future will unfold.